Alright, so this is actually going to be part 8 to What If Deku Had All for One. So, with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
Can find me up in the way. I give a fuck about your wave. My nigga, I surf every day. Drowning my soul in the basement. Look, I ain't got much in the bank. I got a lot I can say. Caught up with goddesses, hey. I hope you forgive my mistakes. Yeah, run around with the renegades. You should take a seat, save your energy. I try to heal the gas with a band-aid. In a time of need, you call your enemies. I landed in Ibiza and I need a visa. I ain't playing with you, this no mama me. I need a hottie toddy with a body, yeah. I just spit the knowledge, then I'm out of here. That's what they are when we come around. This is your time when we want it now.
As you guys can tell, that wasn't my regular intro. That's actually the Sins intro. Because, as you know, if you've been keeping up with my channel, I made a new YouTube group called The Sins. And I'll have each of their links in the description. And the link to our new channel that we're all collaborating on called The Sins. You could go check that out. And right now we don't have we don't have content on it yet, but we're going to do some collaborations and put some content on that channel. So that was just the intro for that channel. So if you're interested in subscribing in that channel for the future content that's going to be there, you can go and subscribe right now. There's also the other Sins you get to watch individually. So yeah. So in the last part, we just got done with the students versus teachers, and we went through that kind of filler between the time between that and the camp. So right now we're getting into the part where they actually get on they're in class, and this is when Aizawa tells them, all right, so even if you didn't pass the assignment, everyone's gonna go, and everyone is excited because they all get to go on this camp trip together. So they get on the bus, and Aizawa basically says, don't get too comfortable because in 30 minutes we're gonna basically have a stop there. And everyone thinks that it's going to be, kind of like a resting spot to like stretch your legs and maybe go to the bathroom and things like that. But when they actually get there, this is when Aizawa, gets them out of the bus, and they meet they meet two members of the Wild Pussycats. They meet Mandolin and they meet Pixie Bob. So most of the class don't know who these heroes are except for Deku, and he actually tells everyone that these two are part of the Wild Pussycats, and they have been doing hero work since they have been kids. So this is when Pixie Bob actually goes up to Deku and kind of tells him to shut up, since she doesn't want to reveal her actual age. So the class is confused, like, why are they there? And this is when Aizawa tells him, like, well, you guys better hurry because you need to get to the other side of the forest before lunch, or you're not going to get served any food. And everyone's like, oh god, right? So they all try to rush to the bus, but then this is when the bus actually drives away. So they're forced to go through the woods. And Mineta still runs through everyone since he really needs to go to the bathroom. But when he gets there, he sees this monster made out of dirt. So right before that monster's actually about to hit him, this is when Deku saves him. So I believe Mineta's the one who stayed, and the invisible girl is the one who left. So he was barely able to get him out of there. So what he does is he basically pulls back Mineta to get him with the rest of the group, and he's thinking of what would be the best way to get everyone to the other side the fastest, because he doesn't want to go without eating, and he doesn't want anyone else to. So he kind of stops and ponders about this, right? And he just thinks like, oh yeah, duh, I could just teleport. So what he does is that he basically he goes for Jiro first, since they're kind of dating at this point, and he jumps with her as high as he could go so he could see into the skyline, and he sees where the actual cabin is, and when he sees it, he actually just teleports there. And since he's been there before, and he's been to where the bus actually dropped them off, he's actually able to teleport basically instantly without having to jump each time. So basically, they kind of skipped that even faster than even my prototype what if. So that's basically how it goes. He just goes individually and teleports everyone there, since it'd be a lot easier than to even fight through it or even go through there manually. So they basically get there within a few minutes, actually before the teachers even. And Pixie Bob's kind of annoyed since she wasn't able to show off her quirk really to the kids, only for that one monster, which they kind of just defeated pretty easily. So she's kind of mad that she wasn't able to show off more. So they're kind of there for like another 30 minutes, since that's how much time it would have taken for the bus to get there. So by the time the bus actually comes, it's Aizawa and the other Wawa Pussycats. And the Wawa Pussycats are surprised that they were even able to get there. At least Mandolin is, since she wouldn't know that they got there so fast. But Aizawa knew already that it would take him no time, since Deku was there. And he goes up to Deku and says, come on, man, you could have at least given them, you could at least let them try a bit. And Deku's like, yeah, but I didn't really want to miss lunch. And Aizawa was like, yeah, I understand. So as this is going down, Deku sees this kid kind of by himself, and he goes up to him to say hello. And this is when this kid, who is later to revealed to be Koda, actually hits Deku below the belt and actually injures him. And this is when Ida comes to his side to kind of help him. And he basically says that was a cheap shot, right? So later on they have lunch, and it's really good, and everyone's thanking Deku for getting them here fast and not having to be able to skip it, or being forced to skip it by not getting there in time. And as everyone's enjoying their food, this is when Pixie Bob actually tells the students that this is going to be the only day that they're actually going to get fed. Every other day from now on, they're going to have to make their own lunch. So time goes by, and they get to the point where they're in the kind of outdoor baths, I believe. And they're kind of just doing their thing as natural or normal. And this is when Mineta gets the idea to climb the wall, and he uses a sticky ball to actually go over it. And right before he actually is about to go and see all the girls naked, this is when Midoriya was uses telekinesis to kind of pull him back and say I don't think that's a good idea, especially when Jiro's over there, right? Because he doesn't want him to see. So Koda is watching this, and the girls would have heard what happened since it was a thin wall. So they're kind of thankful for Izuku or Deku. And later on, after they're done bathing, Deku would go and ask Mandolin, why does he not like heroes, right? He would ask why Koda doesn't like heroes, and she would basically explain what happened to his parents and things like that, right? So Deku gets to understand this a bit more, and he actually understands why someone like Koda would not like heroes, since his parents died in the line of duty. But at the same time, everyone he knows actually like loves heroes and always wants to be one. So it's kind of a weird contrast between what he knows and what he's just finding out, because he's never met anyone who's ever been like this before. So we would cut back to the or cut forward to the next day, very early in the morning, and this is when Aizawa tells the students that they're going to basically do a semester's training in a week. So he tells them, try not to die. And the reason for this is because, even though everyone's been training since the beginning of the year, you've only been training through experience and not really, only experience and some, stamina, but not really your quirks. You're not really developing them. So as an example, he tells Bakugo to throw a baseball as fast or as hard as he can, and it's only slightly higher than his high score that he did at the beginning of the year with that quirk assessment. So everyone's kind of shocked, thinking that they would have, at least grown a little bit more than they have, than they have going through all these kind of experiences. But seeing how Bakugo did slightly better makes them kind of worry a bit. After Aizawa tells the class that, he basically he calls out Midoriya or Deku and says, Midoriya, I don't think you should keep a hold of that magnetism quirk. It's basically just a less versatile version of your telekinesis, so I suggest giving it to someone else. So everyone's hearing this and they're surprised, not knowing that he could give people quirks. And you guys can comment down below who should have the quirk, magnetism, or not magnetism, but you know what I mean, like the controlling metal and things like that. I think it's called magnetism. But anyways, you guys can tell me down below what you want it to be. So at this point, Midoriya or Deku has not given it to anyone yet. So for his training, he's just trying to master, well, not really master, but he's trying to kind of have multiple quirks active at the same time. Kind of like Shoji's, where he is trying to have multiple duplo arms and things like that. And he mixes that in with a little bit of strength training with Tiger. And for Shinso's training, it's a little bit different than other characters. His training is basically like how many people he can control, and he mixes that in with a little bit of like trying to be like stealthy and trying to mind control as many people as he can, combine it with a little bit of combat training with Aizawa and things like that, right? And if things go out of two hand, Aizawa is always there to kind of reverse any permanent damage, like things like memory distortion and things like that. So yeah, I think I'll end it here, and in the next part we'll go over the rest of the training and the invasion and things like that. So if you haven't checked out the Sins, go do that. They're all great YouTubers, right? What if YouTubers and things like that. So if you really want to watch more content, then I suggest watching them, right? And recently one of the Sins actually made a special in which he uses a bunch of his own What If Dekus and a few of mine, and it's called Into the Dekuverse. And if you're gonna, I would suggest watching that. It's pretty good, and it's basically a crossover between all these different what ifs. So with that being said, this is going to be the end of the video.
Very rarely do you catch me out. Y'all done specially invited guests me out. Y'all been telling jokes that's gonna stress me out. Soon as I walk in, I'm like, let's be out. I was off.